At first glance, this scene looks like a happy occasion. But this is what Israeli hotels and volunteers across the country have been doing over the last 24 hours, opening their doors and their hearts to evacuees of Israel's Gaza envelope communities.
In the meantime, it's a chaos. A lot of people are still coming, and there is still no formal organization of this event. So it's still more spontaneous. I just reach out to kids or by the way, like old kids, even adults that are in trauma. And you just like, hey, what are you doing? Do you want to play? Do you want to talk? Do you want to hug?
An estimated 9,000 hotel rooms are currently reserved for these families. The Ariam Hotel alone is hosting 600 people.
We still feel safer here, but as you know, nobody's safe anywhere in this country. So it's all relative. And we're happy to have a place to go. We appreciate having a place to go.
And indeed, heavy barrages of rockets reached over Jerusalem as well on Monday afternoon and early evening. But Monday's relative relief for these families comes after a weekend of horrors and an evacuation beyond worst nightmares.
It's not our first time being evacuated, but it's different from all the others we've experienced. In addition to the rockets flying at us, we understood that there were terrorists roaming the Moshav just looking to murder people. I think at that moment the blood drained from my body. Just like that, we went in automatic, doing what needed to protect the house, the neighbors, the children, and my in-laws who live with us. The electricity went out 5 minutes after. For 12 hours we were in the bomb shelter in complete darkness with no air, with the sounds of shooting all around us. On occasion, messages made it through on our phones about people who said the terrorists were knocking on their doors, and then after, no more replies. Terrifying moments. I don't know where we can go from here. I just don't know where we go from here.
Trauma that is not easy to relive, but necessary to share.
We didn't know what was happening. We kept trying to find information and understand what was happening. We were told to stay inside the shelter and in any case not to go outside, but we were not told why. In the afternoon, I heard the neighbor's dog barking. I didn't understand why he was barking. There was no one outside. After a few minutes, I heard gunshots, and it seemed to me, because until now, it turned out that at this time, they had murdered 3 people in a house less than 100 feet away from us.
Shielding their children from what nightmares they can, their biggest priority.
After 10 hours of being locked in the bomb shelter with our neighbors and everything, soldiers began to arrive. My husband and our neighbor called them from the window and asked them to get 2 jeeps ready. We would get cars ready to take the women and children from here. They would come later. The soldiers told us we have 10 minutes. We ran to dump whatever we could into a bag and left. The entire time I told the children to look at the phones and not to look around. Bodies were lying on the sides of the roads. I didn't know if they were terrorists or civilians or both. Burned cars.
Giving them safety that others were not lucky to afford. A miracle.
The emergency department came to escort us out, and I asked them, "What's going on?" They only said that a terrible disaster had happened. In the evening, in the dark, around about 9 or 10 o'clock, we were told that it was possible to evacuate the village in a convoy. We left because if you stay, you are like a duck in the range. Only later did we really understand what had happened. In our village, at least 18 people, including 1 child, were murdered. A rocket that was fired hit the house of 1 family and burned the house down, and they burned alive.
At one point, the residents took charge of the situation while waiting for the army. We had to try to get rid of the terrorists who came to us. Surrounding my house, there are 5 others, and just 3 or 4 of them families murdered. One of my neighbors noticed the terrorists were getting closer. He had an M16 and fired it into the air. By some miracle, it scared them away.
Monday, watching their children and neighbors smile, paint, and play with friends, not taken for granted. Residents close by doing what they can to help as brothers and sisters, hand in hand.